I'm Rick James, bitch.
He is a once-in-a-generation performer.
Yeah, Oscar. You're a grouch. It's like, bitch, I live in a fucking trash can.
A rare and unforgettable talent.
That was the most brilliant set I've ever seen.
Commercial success, he's got it. Critical acclaim, got that too.
These are the ones I want for the other ones, motherfucker.
And his peers, well, they also recognize his greatness.
I've never seen anyone better. I've just never seen anybody better.
I felt like all of America just sat up and like, what the fuck?
Charlie Murphy!
See, Dave don't give a fuck.
No.
That's his mantra.
One of the defining voices of ours or any time.
I want some great drink, baby.
Provocative, original, and undeniably hilarious.
You wanna see my face?
They scream out, GOAT! That shit would get me amped.
This is Dave Chappelle.
What we created spawned a whole generation.
Uncut, in your face.
That guy has got
First show I fell in love with.
Jefferson.
Stephen's a movie star, that's rare.
Fresh new energy.
Multi-dimensional.
Unapologetic.
People want to see
You can't even talk about black comedy without
Def Comedy. Eddie Murphy. Kings of Comedy.
Kevin Hart.
fundamental to the black culture.
To me, Richard Pryor, Eddie Murphy, Dave Chappelle.
I thought y'all stood around fucking egg. I'm white.
In terms of like talking about subject matter that is taboo and making it funny, Dave is number one.
Hey, Frank, how are you? Oh, you didn't hear? I had Ebola last week, but I'm doing all right now. I was bleeding out of my eyes and anus, so I got concerned.
He's so compelling, too. He knows how to talk in a cadence that'll pull you in and you want to hear every single word he says. He pauses at the right times, and his voice has this rhythm, this melodic rhythm to it.
Puzzles me that people are confused if this is an art or not. Man, talking shit is an art. Talking shit is an art.
And he definitely sets the bar for what comedy is and what it should be, and he's taking it all over the world.
He influenced my style and me more than anybody else. If you see me do stand-up, I don't rush into any of my material. You're safe to be quiet if you can be compelling enough to make them listen.
Everybody's mad. Back when we were growing up, only black people were mad. Now, everybody's just trying to get in on the act.
You know what he told me once? A lot of people are funny, but are you interesting?
Yeah.
Right.
Dave Chappelle is interesting. I appreciate coming here to Yellow Springs, Ohio. I was here before when we did the thing out in the cornfield, and it ended abruptly because somebody got COVID. And remember back then, it was like when somebody got COVID, it was like HIV. Like, we gotta get the hell out of here.
Not quite like HIV. Not as fun to get as HIV.
Who told you to do stand-up? What made you want to do stand-up? Like, how did that happen?
Yeah, I told everybody I was going to be famous. Here, before I even knew I was going to be a stand-up, I just knew.
Famous in some capacity.
I'm going to do something. Man, I felt special. That feeling like, man, people need to know about me. But I was funny. I just didn't know that that was a marketable skill. You know, I was watching Eddie Murphy, huge Eddie Murphy fan, all that.
I'm Ronald Reagan's illegitimate son.
Didn't occur to me yet that I could be that.
So, how'd you find comedy?
Well, I did that whole piece, What's in the Name, on Netflix. Time magazine released an article about Bill Cosby. The headline said, 50, funny and filthy rich. And I read that article, and it was when I was looking at his face, before all that disgrace, that I looked and I said, I could do that. I kind of talk about deciding I want to be a comedian, and a comedian telling me if you want to be a good comedian, you need to know how to act. And he didn't explain it. But I told my mother, and she told me about Duke Ellington School of the Arts, and I enrolled in the school. And when I was in school there, I got the courage to let me see if I could. And the first night I went on, now I remember the intro and everything. I'll spare you the details, but
No, I need the details. What's the intro?
The intro was, you know, folks, everyone starts somewhere, and this young man is starting here tonight. And who knows, he says, we may be witnessing the birth of a star. Please welcome David Chappell. Wow. And then...
Chappell?
Yeah, that's what he said. I killed.
Right.
And I got off the stage, I walked straight to the bathroom. They're still clapping. I'm in the bathroom, they're still clapping. And the host is on the mic saying, "You hear this, kid? This is all for you." Wow. Man, it was over. See you next week.
One woman has a golden lasso that makes you tell the truth. Ooh, not that.
Man, that first laugh, you described it like a crack addiction. Like you chase that first hit.
Right.
I'm still chasing that laugh.
Right.
Almost 40 years later.
Gotcha. Oh, nice tits.
You started stand-up in Washington, D.C. while you were still in high school. Like, who were the comics that you would see in D.C. at this time?
It was the tail end of Tommy Davidson, Martin Lawrence. By the time I started, they were already local legends. These guys were like pioneers of the D.C. comedy circuit. Because D.C. was a majority black city where there were no black comedy clubs. I even heard a club owner when I started say he didn't like putting more than one black actor on a show because he claimed it offended his audience. This is in Washington.
Damn.
That was 87, 88.
And then from there, New York?
After high school, yeah.
The Irish are the blacks of Europe. I had never heard that before. I said, in that case, beat it, nigger, your breath is killing me.
What happened is I would be playing these clubs in D.C. Comics would come down from New York, and man, I would be killing it. I didn't know this at the time, but they'd be going back up to New York. Like, you seen this kid in D.C. like I was a ringer. I didn't look like I got it, but I had it. And there was a comic, I can't remember who it was, he was coming to the club. He couldn't make it, but he had to open an act that he toured with some chick. And the chick's from New York, so she's thinking, since she's his feature act, she goes, well, okay, so I'll just go on, after the kid. And they're like, no, the kid's gonna close. She's like, what? Like, fucking 16 years old, I could do an hour.
Well, black people are bad bargaining chips. Terrorists would call up the White House, hello, we have got 5 black people, and we will, hello?
And that lady was Monique.
No, quite the opposite. It was Sarah Silverman.
Oh, wow.
And she was blown away. And we went to McDonald's between shows, and we sat there, and Sarah gave me the skinny on New York. She goes, you gotta go. She told me which clubs would be easiest to get into and stuff like that.
Now, don't get me wrong. I like white people. And I like you guys a lot. That's why I feel like it is my responsibility to let you know what these black people are saying about you behind your back. Man.
You become that hot kid. Like,
I know, but I will watch that same stuff now and I'll cringe.
Right.
Because I see where I'm imitating somebody else. Miles Davis said it best. He said, the early part of your career, you chase your influences, and the later part of your career, you run from them. You're desperate to be yourself. It takes you years to learn how to be yourself.
So, boom, what brings you to Hollywood?
Opportunity.
I was trying to figure out when we met.
I can't remember.
Because it was either 92, 93 in New York.
I feel like I knew you from L.A. I've always known you as a L.A. comic. And you know what I remember about you? So in the 90s, L.A.'s comedy circuit was segregated.
Right.
And you were one of the only comics that I'd see in both rooms. I went everywhere.
Man, I love Montreal. I do, man. Yeah, man, I was hanging out in the black community today. Both of those guys are great.
I did Montreal Comedy Festival.
Right.
And I was never broke again. That's when I started making all these bum-ass television deals.
And that's where Pilot Boy came from,
That's
right?
why they call me Pilot Boy, because every year I go.
I went to several of them.
Yeah, it's like every year, come see my annual failed pilot.
How many were there?
Oh, man, I feel like there was like 13 or 14, some insane number of pilots. But it became like a disappointment I was used to. And then the ones that they picked up, I wish that they didn't.
Right.
Morning, naked white neighbors.
Hey, I'm in bed with my wife. Do you mind?
I don't know if she doesn't.
Dave, I gotta know, is it just us or do you climb into other people's apartments?
Just you. Everyone else calls the police.
They were just all bad shows. But what I learned was the television business.
Right. Are you getting movie offers at this time?
Yeah, I would get like Half-Baked and all that.
Yeah. Okay, honkies. Time in.
Let them know. Here we come.
Oh, no, this is Upper West Side, man. We might as well tell them we're opening a crack house.
When I finally got sick of it, you know, I moved here to Ohio, and I read a Chinese proverb. And the Chinese proverb said, the best meals you can cook start with ingredients you already have. And it made me think, what do I have? Who do I know? And at the same time, I watched some documentary about this show, Playboy After Dark, that Hugh Hefner used to host.
Well, good evening. I'm Hugh Hefner, your host. This is Barbie Benton. This is Connie Kresge, our Playmate of the Year, and you arrived just in time.
And what I liked about it was the vibe. It was a cultural point that was like a meeting place for a certain kind of person. And like, I want a show that feels like that. I called Neil Brennan. Now, you know, me and Neil at that time, our relationship wasn't tense, but we, you know, our band broke up. We had done Half-Baked together.
Right.
And then he went off and did his thing, and I was off doing my thing. But at this point, you know, my girlfriend was pregnant, and I'm thinking about, you know, what do I have? What can I do? And I picked up where I left off. And Neil and I, over a series of arguments, came up with Chappelle Show.
Chappelle Show. Chappelle Show. Chappelle Show. Chappelle Show. Chappelle Show. Oh! Let's start the show.
Finally, we can talk about something I know about. So I was in high school when Chappelle's Show came out, and that was the show. If you came to school and you did not see Chappelle's Show the following night, you were left out of every conversation for the whole day. That's all we talked about. And
He also put a lot of people on.
Oh, man, that Chappelle Show crew is a hell of a crew.
What's PCP?
Wrap it up. Bill Burr's in quite a few sketches.
Oh, man.
Crap. I want to hit this punk.
Patrice O'Neal. I'm the biggest hater. Donnell Rollins.
Yes, Ashy Larry.
Ashy Larry. Marcy Projects. Marcy, son, what?
The meanest burger in the world could be the meanest burger in the world if you cook it that way.
I need to stop smoking this shit here.
You've been on The Wire.
My name's Damian Price, but I mostly go by Day-Day.
The Corner.
Motherfucker, I'm high right now.
A Spider-Man movie.
Oh, he stole that guy's pizza.
But I know the first time I ever saw you was on the Chappelle Show.
What?
That's the first time I ever saw you on TV, and I thought you was funny as hell.
I thought you was talking about something that could repair that catastrophe you call a hairstyle.
Oh, Buck Nasty, you are so dark. When you touch yourself, it's like black on black crime.
So you met Dave during that show.
Tried to kill my father, man.
What?
You play that shit. Say word, he tried to kill your father, son.
That nigga tried to kill my father!
Now, I know that Dave's
I don't
dad.
give a fuck about no motherfucking Dave Chappelle. No, I'm just...
So you met Dave during that show. That's how y'all became
No,
friends?
we knew each other. We knew each other from DC, because one thing about DC Comics, they have like a brotherhood. You know what I'm saying? And so, you know, I was a young comic, and I used to go to this one comedy club, and I used to, the Comedy Country Greenbelt, and I would always ask, like, who came out of DC that's popping? Who doing it? It was like Dave Chappelle. And I would say, man, fuck Dave Chappelle, right? Not in a hater way, but just in somewhat of a competitive way. And it wasn't but 2 years later, at my 50th birthday, Chris Spencer asked Dave, how did you and Donnell meet? And Dave said he was already ahead of everybody. He would go home to DC, and he would ask who's the comedians that are popping now. And Barbara said, but Dave, there's this one young dude named Donnell Rollins, and Dave had the same response I had. He said, man, fuck Donnell Rollins, right? And that was our relationship. We knew each other from DC. The interesting thing is that people just assumed that because me and Dave both were from DC, that was my gateway into the show. But it was Neil Brennan. Neil Brennan used to do PA work for In Living Color, and he saw me at a couple auditions, right? He took a liking to me. I get a call from him, and Neil's like, I'm working this project I think you'd be good for. I was like, what's the name of the project? He said, we don't have a name. right? I was like, well, once you get a name, talk to my people, right? Cut to, the name of the show was Chappelle Show.
Good hustle.
Yo, man, I'm not on your team.
And when I got on that show, that was it.
This way, come on, yo. Give me my money. Harry, give my money.
Where were you the day you realized that the Chappelle Show was the phenomenon that it was?
I knew something special would happen because I started hearing people talk about it in the barbershops. And I used to call Neil and I'd be like, I just got off the phone with the streets. Right, because Neil wasn't in the streets. I'd be like, yo, and then they would ask Neil, did Donnell talk to the streets today? But one particular episode, and this one just took it out the gate, Rick James.
We gonna hang out with Rick James tonight, you know what I'm saying? And he comes out the room, and I look at him, and I'm not bullshitting, man. I seen like an orange, his aura or whatever, I seen it. He was orange.
But this is why sometimes higher up people don't get it. Comedy Central hated that sketch.
Charlie Murphy!
First off, they didn't think Charlie Murphy was funny.
I actually went there, like, maybe I shouldn't do nothing, but my ghetto side was going, yo, stomp this motherfucker out right here.
And never in the history of sketch comedy have you had almost one episode devoted to one sketch.
Kicked the shit out of him, man.
They didn't believe in it. But I knew the minute Dave said, I'm Rick James, bitch, I mean, the room would explode.
I'm Rick James, bitch. It's a celebration, bitch.
I don't know of a show that resonated so much that one catchphrase would get kids suspended. What did the five fingers say to the face?
Slap!
For a show to go 20 years and still be a part of pop culture, something to be said about that. You get a show like that, I'll say every 20 years, it was Richard Pryor, it was a Flip Wilson show, it was in Living Color. Every so often you get a show like that, and I was just lucky enough to be a part of that show.
And I got enough cigarettes to last me and my family for the rest of our lives. I'm rich, biatch.
Chappelle's Show was how many seasons?
2 and
3?
Almost 3.
Almost 3.
Yeah, I quit on the 3rd season.
Is there a favorite sketch?
The most fun I can remember having on set, was just something out of nothing, which is fun, was the Player Haters Ball.
Why you vacuum that coat, man?
Well, well, well. The most diabolical haters this side of the Mississippi. Buck Nasser, what can I say about that suit that hasn't already been said about Afghanistan? It looks bombed out and depleted.
Ice-T was in that sketch.
Next nigga say something while I'm talking is getting shot. Please believe that.
Patrice O'Neal was in that sketch. To me, that's one of my favorite days. I remember just coming home from work. It was a long day, but coming home from work, being like, that shit was fun.
Your kids have a favorite sketch?
I can remember the first time I ever saw them watching the show they were watching. Tyrone Bigum's on Fear Factor.
Oh! Take your shoes off. Let's do it. Whoa. Tyrone, I think there's something wrong with your feet. Oh! Go.
Hey, Joe Rogan, is it almost lunchtime? Because I smell somebody cooking.
And they would die and laugh.
It's a good feeling, right?
Yeah, because at home I was kind of serious. Not serious, but...
Your dad.
It wasn't even dad. My career had fallen apart. I was depressed. and to see my kids looking at that and laughing.
Right.
It was the first time I could look at it and be like, oh, that was funny. And not feel any kind of like pain or bitterness.
All you have to do is eat a little bit, and you're the champion.
Yada, yada, yada. You know, Joe Rogan, this is not the first time I've tasted peanuts.
Is there a favorite sketch that black people have that they yell at you? And is there a favorite sketch that white people have?
Man, Chappelle Show's weird, man. It's like unanimous. Everyone loves Rick James sketch.
Unity!
Everyone loves
Prince.
It's a good game.
I wish I could say the same for you.
The racial draft.
So long, fried rice. Hello, fried chicken. I love you, Dad.
I could go on and on. Right. These sketches are just, they're iconic, but they're all from like a the same kind of comedy, though. It literally is two friends making each other laugh in a writer's room.
Is Wayne Brady gonna have to choke a bitch?
Chappelle's show ends, right? What year is this?
2004.
Go to Africa, you come back.
I was only in Africa for 2 weeks. I can't stress that.
It feels like it was 2 years. Which you've talked about in numerous interviews.
Everybody wants to know, why'd you walk away from $50 million?
Somebody on set that was white laughed in such a way. I know the difference of people laughing with me and people laughing at me. And it was the first time I'd ever gotten a laugh that I was uncomfortable with. Not just uncomfortable, but like, should I fire this person?
He really showed me what it looks like to take your career into your own hands, because he had the biggest sketch show in the history of television.
Hello and good evening. It's me. What? It's me. What? It's me, Little John. Okay.
And he walked away from it, and people thought he was crazy for that. And now you can see the peace of mind that comes with I call my own shots. It really didn't end his career.
You see the peace of mind in honoring thyself.
Yeah.
Like not bending over backwards for what they tell you to do and actually like this is what feels good in my heart, this is what I feel I should be doing, and this is what I'm gonna do.
And that's being true to the art. You know what I mean? And that's one heck of a standard to set as the guy at the top for everybody to see.
And it lets you know it's not always about the money. Not all money is good money.
There you go. How much I'm getting paid for this?
Dave Chappelle being on Comedy Central and having that carte blanche to be able to do whatever you wanted to do, that had a huge impact. Every sketch that was out there was memorable, something that people were talking about the next day. And then when he went over to Africa, he took that hiatus, turned down the money and whatnot, but came back even stronger. And had he not left the Chappelle show, I don't think he would have had the impact that he's having on comedy today. Not just black comedy, but comedy overall.
Thank you.
Reverend Al Sharpton, my guy. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you for coming.
Please, have a seat in your office.
Yeah. What concrete steps would you make to deal with police brutality? We vowed tonight we won't go back.
When I say black comedy, what does that mean to you?
Black comedy means different things at different points in our history. I think that black comedy played a huge role in the struggle for racial justice because I think some comedians were able to deliver our message in a funny way that others wouldn't hear it without that.
So what's great about what you're saying is these people had a political voice that made people very attracted to them, like Dave Chappelle.
Right.
What is Dave Chappelle's appeal to this new audience?
Dave Chappelle, I think, is contemporary and historic at the same time. He picks up the whole lineage of comedians that know how to talk about what's going on socially, politically, and in reality, and make you laugh at the same time.
But there was a lunatic on the streets who was killing police officers, and we would like to know if we can pick you up at the airport. We're extending this courtesy to everyone he mentioned in his manifesto. And I told the police, I'm fine. I read the manifesto. He likes me. Is there anything I can do for you, nigga? Because I'd be very worried.
So, after George Floyd was brutally murdered, Dave came out with 846. Were you able to see that? Wasn't it amazing?
It was amazing. And as one that was involved in the George Floyd movement, it was a very important thing that only somebody like Chappelle could do.
This man kneeled on a man's neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. Can you imagine that? This kid thought he was gonna die. He knew he was gonna die. He called for his mother.
He commanded that kind of respect and space that people heard it when he did it. And it meant a lot to those of us that were involved in the movement.
If I were white and saw one of these men get murdered and I was in the NRA, why wouldn't I stand up for them? A card-carrying legal gun owner that gets murdered in cold blood because he's black. That's why they don't give a fuck. There's only one.
I think that is the gift that he has of being able to say things that you get the irony and the humor and the comedy because you realize what he's saying is serious.
What are you signifying? That you can kneel on a man's neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds and feel like you wouldn't get the wrath of God. That's what is happening right now.
And I think that a guy like Chappelle gives you kind of where you could do it because you want to relax your audience.
Right.
You know, you want to slap them and then like, I didn't mean to hurt you when you really did.
This is the streets talking for themselves. They don't need me right now. I kept my mouth shut. And I'll still keep my mouth shut. But don't think that my silence is complicit of all the shit these niggas are saying, trying to get everyone to sing these fucking songs. I know all these songs.
I think there's no comedian I know that does that well in these times.
Right.
So there's this hiatus, right?
12 years.
Right. You go to Africa, you come home, and you go back to what you're doing, which is stand-up, right?
Right.
Stand-up, you're hitting it hard.
Well, but the other thing was, I never really lived my life. It was always relative to stand-up. And in that time period, I had my life, and I had my work. And it was the first time that I made the adult decision to just separate the two. So you recognize it as a passion, not a chore. There's no agent calling you, hey, look, I got a thing for you. It was all just, hey, I want to go to Denver. I rode my motorcycle back and forth from here to LA and back. I've done this twice. And along the way, I'd stop anywhere and just do shows.
I heard
could
these
always
stories.
fill rooms up. It felt like free, like when cowboys said, man, sleeping under the stars and all that shit. I lived outside.
Yes,
I wasn't in
yeah.
show business.
Right.
I wasn't in that house.
Right.
It was nice outside. Yeah, I got used to it. So when I finally got the opportunity to come back, I wasn't sure I wanted to go back. I started to remember what I didn't like about being in the business. And it was, Q-Tip and Lorne Michaels that got me to come back and do SNL. And the circumstances around that was Phife from A Tribe Called Quest died. Q-Tip was releasing the album with Phife on it, and his pitch was, this is the last Tribe album, and I need you.
So he talked you back into it?
There was no way I could say no.
Ladies and gentlemen, at long last, make some noise for A Tribe Called Quest!
I gotta tell you, that's not an easy re-entry.
Right, yeah, you went straight to the top. You came back and you went to the NBA championships.
Yeah, that show, the way they do it, it's not an easy show to do.
Well, well, well. Good to see you, Your Grace. Cousin David, well, I haven't seen you in a long time. How does it feel to have sex with your niece?
But I bumped into Louis C.K. the night before, and he was the one who told me, don't do your real monologue at rehearsal. It was the best advice he ever gave. And he goes, nothing matters more than monologue on that show. And I remembered it. So I did like a 12-minute monologue.
I'm gonna go straight to the source, if you'll excuse me.
Get your muscle milk easy, Brandon. You getting a little toothy down there.
Sorry about that, Mama.
And I ended up signing my Netflix deal on my way to my mark the first time I did SNL. Like they count down, live television. 1 minute, 30 seconds. Fuck it. And then before I knew it, the show was over and I was at an after party and it was like, I guess I'm back.
Incredible.
I finished the deal now, so it's like I come back to the farm, like I guess I'm back, we'll figure it out. I'll check my ingredients and see if I'm gonna cook or not.
You said something that was interesting. It was like, you always stay in shape.
Yeah.
Tell us what that means.
I'm not rich anymore. I was almost rich, bitch. I should have took that money. Now I'm in a basement in London somewhere.
We've often talked about how you're always ready, right? And a lot of comedians, you could tell when you see their specials that it might have been rushed, and probably because you know, Netflix is giving out some good money, so you see a lot of mediocre specials.
You know, like some boxers get fat between fights. But a guy like Floyd Mayweather is always in shape. Whether he's got a fight coming up or not, he stays in the gym.
Right.
I'm more like that.
Right.
But it's not because I'm competitive or anything. I'd be like the comedy equivalent of a gym rat. I love comedy clubs. When we were starting out, I think a lot of cats would get caught up in the social bullshit of it all. You know, they'd be in the green room arguing about this woman or that woman. Or
Right. Who stole what joke?
Right. I used to wait in the car till it was time to go on. I don't want to hear that shit. I didn't come here to know you. I just want to talk to this crowd. You know, I don't want to hear all that. Are you wearing that? Or blah, blah, blah. Cracking fake jokes with insincere people. That's in the beginning.
Sure.
And then as the years go on, you start going to birthday parties. You start going to weddings. Well, you realize, I love these people. Not all of them, but, you know, the ones that are true through the years. They become like a family. I'm happy to see someone. I walk in the club and say, hey, it's like sincere happiness. Where it used to just be this hotbed of like tension and unrequited desire to make it and all that shit. So I like getting older in this business.
Your people suggested this barn. What is the significance of us shooting it here?
Before I came back to the big stage, like when I was still like post-show, one of the first things that I started doing was parties in the barn across the yard here. My neighbor Sharon would let us use her barn. We would put full production in, and we'd throw music concerts, not comedy shows.
Like the block party.
Hey, Mose. Hey, Dave. Make some noise for Miracle, the Fuji.
Like block party. And incredible artists would come and they'd play in this barn, and the parties were lit. We did the last one in 2019. In 2020, COVID hit, and in this area in particular had a real detrimental economic impact. And we started doing shows in another neighbor of ours, Cornfield. We had to get special permission from the governor, which he granted us. We had to invent all the social distancing protocols. None of that shit existed. We figured that out. You know, we started with 60 people a show. By the end, we had hundreds of people that we were allowed to do safely, socially distanced. And, you know, at any moment during 2020, we could have got shut down because it was a perilous time as far as COVID was concerned. We got 54 shows off.
Yeah, I was on 54.
Yeah, you were on the 54 show.
That was a hell of a
It was
lineup.
one of the greatest experiences because, from my perspective, you know, the whole world was shut down. And I got to see the greatest comedians in the world in my backyard.
Tell us who are some of those people.
I mean, you name them, Kevin Hart,
Bill
Burr, yourself, Chris Tucker, Bob Saget, Louis C.K., Chris Rock, Matt Rife, John Hamm, Erykah Badu, Common, Tiffany Haddish. And what people didn't understand and what was kind of beautiful about it is everyone who came here was like 100 nights off.
Right.
You gotta really dust yourself off and get your head in the game. And you seeing all your peers that you look up to. So everyone wants to throw a fastball, but no one even knows that they got a fastball.
Right.
And it was fun. It reminded me of starting out with these guys and getting sure again together. It was fun, man.
Dave made it not just about himself, but about his homies that needed their shine as well. Exposing so many of his homies who had been in the trenches with him this whole time and doing his part to give them exposure. And these people had put in a lifetime of hard work into comedy prior to that and just hadn't got that exposure. But Dave used his platform to give them that exposure. I always felt like that was one of the really cool parts about success is then spreading that to the people around you. And Dave definitely has been about that.
Thank you, Luenell, for joining me today, man.
It's my pleasure, Ryan.
Let's throw it over to Dick Clark. Take it away, Dick. Dick's like, it's almost midnight.
When I say Dave Chappelle, what does that mean to you?
It's a relationship that I never knew I was gonna have. I didn't know Chappelle was paying no attention to me. Most people ain't. Most people ain't checking for me while I'm quietly, you know, killing
it.
out here.
In Arkansas, that bitch had one motherfucking tooth, and she could eat corn on the cob, you feel me?
When Eddie did do Saturday Night Live, We hooked up with Tracy Morgan, and Chappelle was there. When he seen me, he was like, the queen, the queen. I'm looking, I thought Queen Latifah was behind me. I'm like, where's the queen line at? Shit. Years later, mysteriously, out of the fucking blue, I get notified that he wants me to come to Yellow Springs, where he was doing comedy outdoors. Well, all these white folks. He had asked me to come. I took my daughter. Now, I must say, the Yellow Springs audience did take a minute to get used to me. They were sort of like, you know. I'm out there performing, he's sitting next to my daughter. And he tells my daughter, not me, he said, I'm gonna get your mama a Netflix special. I knew that this is probably gonna happen because don't lie to my fucking kid. I don't give a fuck who you are. Don't lie to my child.
Yeah.
I go ballistic. And he know the rules of being black. He is black.
Yes.
So he did not lie to her. And we made the special.
Motherfucker, I almost fucking threw my back out trying to fasten my motherfucking seatbelt. And if you ask for an extension, the bitch act like it's a dope deal. Here, take it, take it, take it, take it.
See, Dave don't give a fuck.
No.
That's his mantra. Let's go. That's all he ever says. He don't give a fuck. And he got the fuck you money to not give a fuck.
Yeah.
He can have it his way. You want to close the world so we can't perform? Well, I'm just gonna build a place to perform and I'm gonna bring all my friends. And yeah, I'm gonna go to city council and all that shit.
I cannot believe you would make me audition for you. You look like clowns.
They didn't welcome that shit. He had to fight for that.
Dave Chappelle, controversial sketch show, and definitely has some controversial things within these last specials. Were you ever affected by anything they've said, like when somebody told you they were hurt or offended?
Dave has been in a lot of controversial discussions and conversations regarding his specials. His commitment to the craft rather than catering to the opinions outside is something that separates him. We don't own Dave Chappelle. He's an artist. He's still the dude who walked away from $50 million, and he keeps that same energy now.
I listen to people more than, but to a healthy degree.
Right.
Look, man, at the end of the day, it's really about your intentions. Not everything is for everybody, and that's fair. Comedy is comedy, but that shit is the weather of the day. I'm a baseline person. You know, you can go on without me, but a lot of times they'll go on without me and they'll be back.
Right.
You know, the society is just recalibrating itself, and it has every right to do so. And as comedians, we're like a nation's kidney. We're just helping them process all this shit. You piss out the bullshit and you take the nutrients. Like, it's not like I'm dismissive of all my critics' arguments, but some of these things are just arguments because everyone just feels like this need to be right. And man, I'm telling you, I don't know what's an acceptable answer. It's often the most interesting one. You know, your critics can be your best teachers. They can inform you. And even if you disagree with them, they can make you resolute about your approach or opinion because they're challenging that you have to make sure you're sure. Am I right? Am I wrong? Is this okay? Is it not okay? And sometimes those answers are inconclusive. But it is art.
Right.
There's no who's funny, who's absolutely right or absolutely true. That's not, I don't think that's what anyone's really doing.
I want to go back to when you received your Mark Twain Prize.
Thank you. Thank you.
Like, what was that phone call like?
Carla, who's sitting right back there, called me. And she says, they wanted to give you the Mark Twain Prize. And then the phone got quiet. And she goes, do you accept? And I said, yes. And I don't think I said much beyond that. I think I hung up the phone. Man, if you knew what it felt like quitting that show and then coming back and then getting that accolade. And at that time, there was only like 22 recipients. So I was on a short list that included Pryor and Carlin.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I got emotional. And I'm not big on like winning prizes or awards,
Sure.
but that one. And it's at the Kennedy Center, and I get to go home and get that pat on the back.
Rather than talk about myself, just briefly, I want to just talk about my genre. Stand-up comedy is an incredibly American genre. I don't think any other country could produce this many comedians. And unbeknownst to many people in this audience, I don't think there's opinion that it exists in this country that is not represented in a comedy club by somebody. Each and every one of you has a champion in the room.
And it gave me some kind of credibility to people that I had never believed I had before.
Who was giving you a compliment and said they were a fan, and you were like, yo?
Eddie Murphy said the nicest thing that was ever said about me.
What'd he say?
He said, Carlin and Pryor are the pinnacle. And he said, and Chappelle is moving the ceiling higher. And that made me want to cry.
I don't know if you remember this, but I think I said the same thing to you 3 years ago.
Hey, but that mean the same.
Yeah, it's true. No, that's gotta be fucking moving. I mean, Eddie fucking Murphy.
Yes, it is.
You know?
Eddie, Eddie, everyone gets kind of like, oh, when he comes around. And, that's a real high compliment from someone I, still look up to. So that was good.
Is the Dave Chappelle story playing out the way you thought it would?
No.
No.
I'm fine with how it's playing out, but I couldn't have planned any of this shit. No. I'm a lucky, lucky motherfucker.
Mm-hmm. Explain that.
I don't plan my career.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a strike when the iron's hot kind of guy. I just remember that Chinese proverb. I think about what I got and if I feel like cooking. And if I do, then I'm lucky to have great ingredients, good friendships to pull from, and things work out.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't plan it or
Right.
you can't rub your mitts to that. You gotta just live your life. I'll tell you what, a few months ago, I did a show in Abu Dhabi. And, obviously, there's gonna be language restrictions or behavior restrictions because they are a religious kingdom. But, there's a lot of expats there and there's a lot of locals there and the crowd would look like a beautiful mosaic of people, like beautiful, beautiful crowd. And I just remember I was on stage and I was in the pocket. And it was the challenge that there were language restrictions, that there were like all these boundaries and I felt like it was a dare. And man, I took the dare, I did the thing. And when it was hard or difficult, the crowd knows now, they're in on it. And whenever I do it anyway, they'd scream out, GOAT! And that shit would get me amped.
Wow.
Now, greatest of all time is ridiculous in comedy, Richard Pryor and this thing. But the experience of people screaming it in real time while you're working, boy, that shit, I can't front. That shit was satisfying.
Right, especially all the way across the globe.
Right, because I never dreamed that I'd be doing something like that. With these streaming platforms being in 120 countries or this, that, or the other, I can go all over the world, and I do now. Now I'm working that way. Well, I used to just ride my motorcycle around America. Now I pull up in Paris, or I pull up and fill rooms up. And the crowds are just as hip as the last country, but they all have their own culture and their own swag.
Right.
And it's a great way to see the world and to meet people or experience people. I don't know. I'm kind of in a bubble, but not really. I'll be outside.
Right.
And I couldn't have planned it, but I'm wise enough to know now to appreciate it while it's happening.
How crazy is it if, while they were yelling, gold, and you're like, thank you, they're like, no, dinner.
I knew he was gonna say some crazy shit.
Thank you, Dave.
Yo, man, anytime for you.
Love you, man.
Love you too, babe.